cameras and I'll just say hi. And yeah, Lydia, you're good recording, right? I started recording too, and Alexa is going to flag
Thank
that
you.
for the session. Thank you. All right.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. So welcome to Climate Action for Everyone Everywhere, a young leader's guide to finding their climate calling, our official ECOSOC Youth Forum side event. My name is Alexa, and I serve as the Director of Climate Calling at Climate Cardinals. And I'm so excited to be here with you today, whether you're here in New York City or tuning in virtually from around the world. So, Climate Action for Everyone Everywhere is the slogan of Climate Calling, which is a project of Climate Cardinals, the world's largest youth-led climate education organization. And Climate Calling is a digital hub that connects over 70,000 young people with climate-related opportunities. From funding and mentorship to career pathways, we help youth access the resources they need to take action. And through a global network, we strive to help every young leader find their climate calling. So the space was created with one core mission: to democratize youth access to climate action and opportunity, because so often young people are told that we are the future, but we are rarely given the tools, the support, or even the language to shape the future. So today we're inviting you to reflect on that journey, whether you're still figuring out your path or already deep into the work. This event is about uncovering the barriers that hold us back and the communities that carry us forward. I'm so honored to be co-hosting this with United Nations Development Program Youth for Climate. Many of them are here today on the panel, and they've been global leaders in scaling youth engagement in climate. So through their work, they've supported youth-led solutions around the world, funded thousands of projects, and helped young leaders from diverse backgrounds step into global climate spaces. So over the next hour, you'll hear about platforms like Climate Calling and Youth for Climate, engage in hands-on workshops, and reflect on what your role can be in the climate movement. So this session will also be recorded just because we had around 700 plus folks who wanted to be joining the call, but unfortunately the Zoom has a maximum capacity, but we will be sending the recording to all of the registrants. In addition, due to venue issues and the change in format to online, we've made our opportunities fair virtual, and we'll be sharing all of the opportunities you guys sent to us in your registration form after the session. So with that, I'm going to be going into a brief overview of the Climate Calling platform, and then I'm going to leave the floor to the team from the United Nations Development Program to talk about their work. All right, so type in the chat if you've ever struggled to find climate opportunities that felt accessible or relevant to you.
Alexa, could you go into full screen mode?
Okay. Oh, okay. I was not sharing the correct one. Okay, amazing. Does this work better?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, awesome. So I'm just going to be starting off with a quick poll to gauge interest and to gauge where folks are at. But please message in the chat if you've ever struggled to find climate opportunities that felt accessible or relevant to you. And we can go through the answers. And if you don't feel comfortable sharing, feel free to just think about it in your head.
Alexa, I'm not sure how easily you can see the chat while you're sharing screen, but yeah, there's a few people saying they've definitely struggled looking for opportunities.
Okay, amazing. I've been having trouble viewing the chat just because there's a lag. But so because of this, Climate Cardinals formed Climate Calling, which is a digital hub that I talked about a little bit that seeks to connect youth leaders to various climate opportunities. And I'm going to be going into a little bit about the platform today. So Climate Cardinals is a global youth-led climate organization focused on making climate action accessible to non-English speakers through translation and education. Its mission is to empower youth and the global majority of 6.5 billion non-English speakers to lead climate solutions. So how does Climate Cardinals do that? It translates many of the United Nations IPCC documents into different languages to make them accessible to folks who may not speak one of the United Nations official languages. It disseminates this information. It disseminates advisories regarding various climate disasters and seeks to help people there. And it has translated many, many different reports like UNICEF climate reports and so many more. And a lot of the core of that mission is really climate justice and making sure climate action is accessible to a wide array of people and not just folks in the global north or folks who speak one of the United Nations official languages. So along that vein of the mission is Climate Calling, which seeks to make the climate movement more accessible, both through the language accessibility aspect, but also by tangibly connecting folks to opportunities and making those visible to them. So it's one thing to know the climate information, to have access to it, but it's another to know where the spaces are that you can take action, right? Spaces like the EcoSoc Youth Forum, if you don't know what that is or don't know how to get connected to it or where to apply to it, that can pose as a major barrier to taking climate action, but Climate Calling seeks to promote and promulgate opportunities like that to make them visible to as wide an audience as possible. So the URL for that is climatecalling.org, and it's a great platform. So I'd highly encourage people to check it out if this is a topic you're passionate about. So this is our Climate Calling team. I'm not going to go into too much detail there, but they're awesome and they work to support the platform and to help with the launch, the promotion, moderation. And so the reason why Climate Calling became a major pillar of Climate Cardinals is that there was a point where Climate Cardinals had opened positions for 50 executive team members and it received around 50,000 applications because there are so many people who are passionate about climate action and interested in joining the movement. But because these opportunities are few and far between, it can be tough to turn folks away. So we wanted to find a way to redirect folks to spaces where they can actually leverage their passion and their initiative to take action and find the right spaces for them. So this is our mission and vision. As you can see, that's where the title for this talk comes from. It's really about making climate action something that anyone can be a part of. So I'd encourage all of you guys to take a look around the Climate Calling website. It's climatecalling.org. Are there any listed opportunities that interest you? Are there any things that you, are there any opportunities you wish you could find there? Or is there anything you believe that the platform is missing? I'd love to hear from your thoughts, just so that it helps us with revising the platform, but also gives us a better sense of how we can be leveraged as a bridge to connect you to various climate opportunities. Okay, amazing. I'm having some trouble viewing the chat just due to lag, but I would love to pass the mic to Roxani from the United Nations Development Program Youth for Climate, who's going to talk a little bit about Youth for Climate, their platform, and some of their current initiatives.
Thanks so much, Alexa, to you and the whole Climate Calling and Climate Cardinals teams. It's a pleasure to be joining you today for the side event, and congrats on putting together a really relevant event. My name's Roxani. I work for the United Nations Development Program, as Alexa mentioned. In case you're not familiar with UNDP, this is the largest UN agency working on sustainable development topics around the world. We're present in more than 170 countries, so chances are there's a UNDP office close to you. I've packed the presentation with loads of different opportunities, but maybe the first one to mention is that we offer paid internship opportunities at UNDP, and also UN volunteers opportunities, which are also paid. So I'd encourage you to keep an eye on the jobs postings of maybe particular offices you might be interested in, and also on the UN volunteers site, as those are some of the opportunities that are more easily accessible to entry-level professionals who might be looking for climate jobs. But really what I'm here to talk to you about today is UNDP's work around youth and climate, and in particular the initiative that I have the pleasure of leading out of UNDP's Center on Climate and Energy in Rome, which is Youth for Climate. And we're trying to do our part on the biggest opportunity gap of them all, which is funding opportunities for young people out there who are among the most affected by climate change, but also very much leading the charge in their communities on identifying and scaling solutions to climate, and yet lack the recognition and funding opportunities to make their work a reality. So we started a couple of years ago with a call for solutions, where we invited young people from all around the world to submit their solutions. And through these two calls, we've sourced over 3,000 solutions, which is really testament to how much is going on out there. We've got an actively funded portfolio now of 100 solutions that we're supporting across 52 countries. Some things to be aware of overall around the way that we operate are that young people are involved in in all our processes as Youth for Climate, including in the evaluation and selection of the projects to be funded. The funding opportunity is open to youth in all UNDP program countries, including in countries in crisis, which sometimes where grant funding can be a particular challenge. It's open to individuals aged 18 to 29, as well as youth-led NGOs and youth-led private sector organizations. We provide different kinds of support throughout the application process. So importantly, we have our 2025 call open right now, and I'll share information about that in a minute. And right now, through the application process, for instance, we've opened up a one-to-one service where applicants can book a slot with a volunteer who can help them with work planning and budgeting principles, because that's a big thing that many people struggle with when putting together funding proposals. We've also hosted an introductory webinar series where we really spotlighted the criteria and the application process and the priority areas that we're targeting this year. And all that material is available on our call page, to which we'll share the link in the chat in a moment. This is a safe space for learning and experimentation. So we award solutions that have a strong proof of concept, and yet we're flexible enough to make sure that this funding can also serve as a safe space for learning, and that we also are learning from everything that youth are doing on the ground, what works, what doesn't work, and that we can foster this kind of knowledge exchange between this global community of change makers, and avoid people having to reinvent the wheel unnecessarily. The call is available in French, Spanish, and Portuguese. We do have an online community space as well, which I'll flag in a moment, which hosts 25,000 youth at the moment, and that's available in 104 languages, meaning you can participate in discussions on there in 104 languages. We, in the selection process, aside from environmental and climate impact, we're looking for interventions that really drive community impact and touch on different sustainable development indicators. And then we accompany the funding with mentorship opportunities, with connections to our country offices, but we also bring our awardees to global events, where often the expertise of these solution holders who really hold that lived experience of challenges on the ground, sometimes their voices are lacking in these fora, and they can really show up with very tangible and concrete examples of action, which we really need to hear more from. This is a QR code for the platform space that I mentioned, which is accessible through a mobile application as well. Now, just to flag a bit about the 2025 call, which I mentioned is currently open. So it's open in these 6 priority areas. So we recognize, of course, that the most impactful solutions might touch on several of these. We just ask you to identify, for the sake of our processes, maybe one that is maybe the primary entry point for your work. These are all elaborated on our call page, which my colleagues will put in the chat for you, so you can have a read through all our guidelines. It's really important you take the time to read the guidelines and better understand. But just to give you a snapshot, the amount of funding you can apply for is up to $30,000. You can implement this funding for a period of up to 2 years. And I think the rest that's mentioned here I've already alluded to. So, and on the platform, other than the call for solutions right now, you'll find some consultations, global consultations that Youngo are hosting until the 20th of April. So you still have just a couple days to go and share your priorities in terms of NDC revision. So in case you're not familiar, the nationally determined contributions are countries' policy commitments. It's the way the Paris Agreement is translated at local level. And in most countries, the revision process, so there's an attempt to raise the ambition of these targets this year. That revision process is very much still ongoing, and it's a key opportunity for young people to make their voices heard and to be included in this important decision-making process. So Younger are collecting inputs through our Youth for Climate platform until the 20th of April, and we'll be collating these and presenting these to decision makers as part of other efforts through their NDC working group. Very shortly, we'll also be co-hosting the Climate Catalyst Mentorship Program on the platform with our sister initiative, which is called Youth for Capacity. It's hosted by the UNFCCC Secretariat. So there'll be some interesting boot camps coming up over the next few months. You see a snapshot here on the screen. So this is not live yet, but you'll be able to access it very soon through our platform. And this is an attempt really to support you as you further develop your solutions, your climate solutions. Now, on the platform, we also host a resource library with different interesting publications, including UNDP publications that you might find helpful in your work. So, for instance, the UNDP Climate Dictionary, which is an everyday guide to climate change terminology, very aligned with Climate Cardinals' mission as well. It's essentially about making climate content more accessible to people. There's a nature edition now as well. And this is something you might want to use in your advocacy work. There's the Beyond Vulnerability Guidance Note, which was published late last year, which highlights youth-led efforts to address climate-related security risks and provides practical guidance for advancing a unified agenda on youth, climate, peace, and security. There's the On Equal Terms checklist as well, which is a checklist we've developed for decision makers, for practitioners, on how to run NDC revision processes in a youth inclusive way. And indeed, this is an important tool for young people as well to know how to push for more meaningful participation in those processes. And a number of other kind of documents, but just wanted to highlight these in particular because they're quite recent. In terms of other UNDP programs that might be of interest, there's the UNDP Small Grants Program. There might be a Small Grants Program coordinator in your country, so I encourage you to check the website. I think my colleagues are dropping links to the chat as I speak. Check if there's a country coordinator in your country, and you can reach out to them and ask if you might be able to put in a proposal for funding, noting that this is only open to registered civil society organizations. There's the Equator Initiative hosted by UNDP as well, which hosts the Equator Prize. This recognizes innovative initiatives that showcase how action on nature, led by Indigenous peoples, can provide effective climate solutions. The Equator Initiative also hosts a nature-based solutions database and a resources database too. Then there's a Learning for Nature platform with lots of interesting learning content around nature topics, and importantly, for Spanish speakers on the call, there's a course on climate action in Spanish for young leaders in Latin America. Sorry if I'm taking longer than I'm allocated, Alexa. I'm almost there. These are our socials, our Youth for Climate socials. And then there's various other websites and socials for other UNDP programs. So our overall UNDP youth team, which covers youth engagement overall, not only on climate, has its own handle on Instagram. And then we have various regional youth initiatives as well. So in Asia, the Youth Empowerment and Climate Action Platform; in Arab states, the Next Gen Youth Platform; and in Africa, there's a new initiative looking to accelerate startups across the continent over the next decade. So these are things you might want to look out for based on your interests. I'll stop there because I've gone over time. And now I have the pleasure of handing over to Gunraagh Singh, who is one of our awardees, our Youth for Climate awardees from our first round, the first round of the Youth for Climate Call for Solutions 2 years ago. And he'll come in to share about his work and I guess a little bit also about how he goes about looking for opportunities. Gunraagh, thanks for joining us. Over to you.
Hi. Okay, thank you, Roxani, for the opportunity. My name is Gunraagh. I am an architect based out of Delhi. I am currently in New York for the EcoSoc Youth Forum. And my work is largely on urban resource management. So for the 2023 call for solutions, the one of the thematics was urban sustainability. And for this, I pitched my project. I'll take you through a little presentation to help you understand what this project was about. And after that, we can talk about what a funding proposal should look like and how you should perhaps apply. So just give me a second. I will share my screen. Okay, taking more than a second. Uh, uh, right. Good to go now. So as the presentation goes, one second, on the second slide already. So, I mean, the idea is that we are currently drowning in waste. And this is an illustration of my city of Delhi, where a landfill has come up and it has essentially deteriorated everything around it, including a lake, and makes housing very difficult. So we have three such monstrous landfills in Delhi, and a few of them actually taller than the Taj Mahal now. So giving you some perspective, and that's just the tip of it. So these are actually environmental disasters. Landfills are hazardous. They are climate emergencies. If you look at this photo on the right, that's the landfill on fire. And the photo on the left is also the landfill on fire in the night. Sometimes it falls over the community, so creates a very a very problematic living scenario, and this is an issue that I wanted to tackle. So I've been working here for a while, and there was also a political impetus where the city government want to get rid of this landfill. They had targeted to move the landfill and do something about it, but this essentially meant that 220 million tons of waste had to be accommodated somewhere else. And what that essentially meant was that they would dump it in the ground. So if you look at the difference between these two photos, they've what they did was they just dumped the parts of the land here in the foreground, and that's not the right kind of thing to do. So that is what I wanted to change. And there was a point when they were offering this material for free, and there was a point when they were also dumping it into surrounding lakes, which became another environmental disaster in its own right. And all of this needed a holistic solution. So this was the what if that I took to Youth for Climate, which was why could this 220 tons of waste not be turned into a construction product? Another alternative is that the construction industry, which I am a part of as an architect, is actually responsible for about 30% of carbon emissions. And as it is with the status quo, it is extremely polluting, extremely carbon intensive because it relies on virgin materials, which is natural resource exploitation. Sand is mined, cement is baked, and so I just want to connect both together, that there is a waste management issue, and and there's also a higher carbon imprint in the construction sector. And could these two not be solved or have a mutual solution? So this was the birth of Dumpcrete, and through Dumpcrete, I'm legit paving the way towards sustainable urban transformation. And before the application cycle, I had prototyped it to some extent. So I had a strong idea. I also knew it would work. So it was not just, something that an AI model could give you, that it tell you this is possible. But then I had thought of it that this is before ChatGPT. And so I thought of it, and I had a proof of concept. So it was a block that I knew and had the right kind of formulation. And I had also tried out a small community-based experiment where we tried to implement it. So so the product is possible, but can waste pickers not come in and help me make this product? And that was also a value addition, because now, I mean, if you're doing something, if you're manufacturing, you can create jobs. And why not give jobs to the people who need it most? So, using this, what I had done was that there was a prototype, then there was testing, and then using the product that we created, we revamped the park. So what you can see on the left is how it was once, and on the right is how it was in August when I did this pilot. And this is around the time, I mean, this is after the application. So, because I was continuously working on it. But here is what I already had. And with the Sparking Solutions grant in 2023, I had three primary objectives, which was to win the right kind of equipment and machinery. So, labor intensive. It meant that the product can be brought out at the right unit economics. It wasn't at a premium. It was affordable. If it was affordable, and then not create a system where people were just working in the street, but had a reasonable, dignified space to work in. And then my eventual goal was to wonder if by bringing the grant in and investing this amount here, could this be made self-sustaining, which is to say that any product that we made here would go out in the market, and that would finance the uh, continued operations of this project. And this is what I had pitched for the Youth for Climate grant. And the idea was to, keep doing that, to like fix more waste, offer work jobs, and then create a product that is self-sustaining. So this was my pitch, and these are the exact same slides actually. So I have gone, I mean, I've progressed a lot in the project now, but this is just to give you a sense of the idea that I had pitched 2 years ago, and this is the kind of clarity I had then. There is to any kind of sustainable venture, I think there is a triple bottom line, which is that it should benefit the planet, it should also benefit people, and finally, I mean, this is profit, but I would now call it prosperity. It should mean prosperity for a community at large. And that is what I think is the green way or the sustainable way of now doing business. Because I think corporates have focused for long on the third part most and not negated the first two. But it's very important to consider all three moving forward. So that I'll stop sharing my screen now, or I'll just go back to this screen. This was my pitch. We used the grant amount once it was there to formulate this better. So now there's a better product. So some amount went into the R&D. Secondly, amount has gone into procuring machinery, as I've already told you, because this is a sizable grant. And third and finally, we're setting up self-sustaining operations, which is building together team, getting people to manufacture it at scale, and then using it in projects or like trying to market it into the right kind of people and get it to flow. So this has been what I have done. And if you want to apply, I would suggest that you think of an idea, but then also explore it to some extent. Just don't come up with a hypothetical idea and apply. Think about it, try it out to some extent, because what you're applying for is a sizable grant opportunity. It's not a very small amount. You should also break up your proposal in a few phases where you can explore how this project will grow. For example, maybe you don't need the entire amount at the start of it. You need a smaller amount. So you can pitch phase one as a very small amount that you need to test out your idea and get to a point, and then second stage can be, as I have done, eventual scale up. Maybe for you, it's a separate thing. So, for example, if it's tech for climate, which is a theme this year, you should try pitching to build a technological solution to the MVP stage initially, and then take it forward in the successful phasing of the project. So be clear about your implementation goals, know what you want to do, and then make it very realistic. So promise only what you know you will be able to do within the amount, and you're also allowed to pitch for lesser amount, and that is, I think, a very wise thing to do, because too much money can also be a problem sometimes. That is that is me right now. Okay, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, thank you. Hi everyone. So sorry for the audio issues earlier, but thank you so much, Gunraagh, for sharing all of your amazing work, and thank you so much, Roxani, for giving an overview of Youth for Climate and for all the amazing messages in the chat showing how folks can be connected to these incredible climate opportunities. So now we're going to be moving into the more interactive part. So we have a few moderated sections that will be covering various themes related to access and climate opportunities and breaking down barriers. So the first section will be called Identifying Your Climate Calling, and it'll answer what types of climate opportunities am I interested in. And then we're going to be going into a section about finding your outlet. So this covers questions like, how can I find or access the types of opportunities I'm interested in? Is this audio working for everyone? Okay, amazing. Sorry, we had some audio issues earlier, but then we're going to be moving into a section on breaking down financial and institutional barriers to accessing climate opportunities, which will answer questions like how unpaid roles, high costs, and institutional barriers exclude youth from engaging with meaningful climate opportunities. And if we have time left over at the end of the day, we're going to be having a quick section on language information and geographic access. But the purpose of this is all really just to engage you guys and see where you guys are at and tailor the session to your needs, your opinions, your thoughts. We're going to have a Mentimeter where you folks will be able to answer some open-ended questions and be in conversation with one another and share your experiences. So with that, I'm going to be starting with the first section on identifying your climate calling. We're going to be talking about uncertainty regarding personal direction or fit within the climate movement. And our guiding focus will be a question on why you are passionate about what you do and how can that align with climate action. So I'm going to be sharing this Mentimeter. For those who haven't used these before, these basically have QR codes and a little join code on top that you can go to via your mobile devices. And essentially, you will be able to answer some interactive questions. So this is the user code 59325761. And our first question is, what's one barrier that stopped you from applying to something you were excited about? And disregard the first two answers since those are from our testing round. Okay, so financial barriers is definitely one of the big ones. Location as well. So not being in the right place, especially because so many climate opportunities are congregated in urban areas or in the global north. Thinking you're not qualified, yes. So one thing that often stops people is that they disqualify themselves or feel hesitant to apply for something that they don't think they'd be able to get. Yes, and paid opportunities are definitely tough to find in the climate space. Not having an organization, yeah, oftentimes calls for climate solutions, calls for funding will require you to be affiliated with an organization, and that can be tough to find, especially if you want to join something as an independent. So I wanted to open the floor if one of the folks who provided one of these answers was interested in talking more to expand on what they were thinking. And we are able to unmute people if they indicate a request to speak. But if people are not comfortable speaking out loud in front of the whole group, that's 100% okay. And we can move on to the next question. We're going to start with Claude, and then we also have two other people who will be speaking afterwards.
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, Claude, you're unmuted. Feel free to speak
Oh,
whenever.
okay. Oh, hi. So, hi everyone. So when this question came up, I thought of the financial hardship and systematic challenges.
Yeah.
As a social justice campaigner, I think we find that there are so many systematic challenges we have to face head on, but it's only our passion that can drive us to be focused in our mission.
Yeah, 100%.
Thank you.
That's so important. Thank you so much for sharing. All right, next we have Lakshmi will unmute the next person.
Okay, not too sure I'm audible, but when I saw this question, the first thing would definitely be funding and opportunity in my region, especially the fact that we struggle with youth unemployment. So seeing that, there's opportunities, yes, but there's not enough funding and nobody's going to go for it when, you don't have jobs or anything. So
Yeah.
definitely has to do with funding and also the location. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. So many opportunities to volunteer or intern for environmental organizations are unpaid or the pay is very low. I, for example, get paid for a lot of things I do through my university, but that's something that most people do not have access to. And Samra is going to be talking a little bit more about this topic, but thank you so much for highlighting this issue because it's really important to talk about. And then our next person who volunteered to speak is I believe it's Nun. So Lakshmi unmuted the next person. Feel free to take the floor.
Unmuted? Can you hear me well?
Okay, so we'll be moving on to the next person. Sorry. Technical difficulties unmuting, but if you had more things you want to share, feel free to email us afterwards. We'd love to get in touch with you folks and talk a little bit more about incredible points you brought up here. Yeah, so our next question is, if you could design your own ideal opportunity, what would it look like? Who would it be for, and what would it offer? Okay, these all sound like incredible opportunities, and yeah, it's really great to be in a space where you can kind of idealize and think about if there were no barriers, what would you be interested in doing? Because at the end of the day, we want to try to find things that target our passions and our interests. So due to time, we're going to be skipping a couple questions and kind of speeding through things, but our next prompt is, I'm going to skip this. Hmm. Okay, so how do you think a skill you have, whether it's coding, organizing, writing, art, could contribute to climate justice and could contribute to the climate movement? Using your voice is definitely super important, definitely a very important tool. Okay. Raising awareness through research and communication. Yes, definitely. Yeah, climate communications is definitely a big field. Using art to spread awareness about various environmental issues is huge. Yeah, contributing local knowledge and best practices. Absolutely. Oftentimes, climate organizations will take a universalizing approach to global challenges, but not necessarily always account for all of the local issues that happen on small scales and how renewable energy technologies can affect local communities. Grant writing skills definitely is a huge thing that many organizations and nonprofits look for. Okay, we're seeing a lot of folks who are talking about writing and communications, carbon markets, and using that understanding to help public institutions transition away from diesel generators. Definitely underscores how important research and understanding is to tackling the climate movement. Okay, amazing. So a lot of these are all about raising awareness to different audiences. For some of these, it's to raise awareness for academic audiences. For some, it's raising awareness for social media audiences, artistic audiences, or even folks who are local people, or maybe even just your family and friends. All of these are absolutely essential because without this awareness, we can't have the collective action we need to tackle the climate crisis. Yeah. Okay, so due to time, we're going to be skipping the rest of the prompts for this section, but essentially the purpose of this exercise was to get a sense of what you love, what you think the world needs, what you can be paid for, talking about feasibility and what you're good at, and trying to figure out where you can get at the intersection of all of those. This is adapted from a concept called ikigai, but it's not quite the same just because the term has been appropriated to be used in career planning spaces. But this is a visual you can probably find in many places online and can serve as a great starting point to guide your climate career brainstorming and your journey in figuring out where in the movement is the right place for you. So with that, I'm going to be passing this on to Mariana, who's from the Climate Cardinals team, and she's going to be talking a little bit about finding your outlet and how lack of access to opportunity networks or knowledge can be overcome. And we're going to be talking about where you can find and apply for various opportunities, finding the right programs, mentors, and platforms to pursue them. So Mariana, the floor is yours.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for coming. It's so exciting to see how lively the conversation is being with everyone, that we're a very, very diverse group. Yeah, my pronouns are she, her. And as Alexa mentioned, I'm from Climate Cardinals. I'm the Deputy Director of Communications for Spanish translation. I'm from Mexico, but right now I'm based in the Netherlands. I hold a master's on climate physics, and my biggest passion really lies within the ocean. That's where I really focus my advocacy work. I work with climate data, ocean projects, and youth collaboration. But even though I'm doing all of these things and I found my passion, I'm always looking what's going to be my next step or what the right next step will be. So as you, I'm also here to travel together into how can we find these opportunities that we want for ourselves. This space that we are creating right now is about finding our outlets. as Alexa already mentioned. The idea is that we can share ideas, tips, also be real about the barriers that we faced, and all of your voices are welcome. So whatever feels right for you, whatever makes you comfortable, that's what matters a lot in this conversation. So if maybe Alexa, you can share the Mentimeter.
Okay, I just need to reopen the tab. Give me 1 second.
No problem. Excellent. So maybe we can go to the, yeah, perfect. So let's start with something just to warm up, just to, put a little bit out there. So take a few seconds to type in the Mentimeter, where do you normally hear about climate um, opportunities, information? Is it usually social media? Is it from friends? Is it, from the news? Is it like, on a specific platform? Maybe you said the majority of these opportunities on Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook or maybe X, I don't know. So that way we can really see like usually where that concentrates for all of us. In my experience, a lot of the opportunities now I hear from friends and colleagues, but also LinkedIn tends to be the platform that, at least within the ocean space, it's easier to find opportunities. Okay, I see here that for a lot of you is Instagram. That's really nice to hear. I feel like if you're already scrolling, already going to your friends' stories, also being able to see opportunities, that's really nice. I also see that LinkedIn is a popular one. Oh, very interesting with WhatsApp groups. Does it usually be like, a WhatsApp group where you've joined, for example, like this, from an event webinar, or is it with your friends? So I see company websites. Yeah, that's also really nice. Oh, directories. That's also a really, really good one. Word of mouth, of course. Friends. Perfect. I really, really love that we can see such a variety. As we can see, opportunities can come from everywhere, right? So, the Youth for Climate platform, that's excellent to hear. But as we can see, opportunities can really come from anywhere. They can come from social media. As we can see here, the most popular has been Instagram, our community, our friends, our colleagues, or any personal connections that we have. But also something very important to highlight is that access to opportunity isn't equal. So sometimes people really feel like they're on the outside just looking into these opportunities. And with this, I want to share a statistic with you. For example, only 13% of young people globally say that they feel confident knowing where to find climate opportunities. This means a lot when we are trying to figure out as we go. And that is exactly what this session is for us to really try to see where we can find these opportunities. And that's why, platforms like Climate Calling are so important, because this way we can really try to find maybe another outlet for us to find opportunities. Can we go to the next question? Perfect. Okay, so now that we really look into where we could be finding opportunities, where do we usually hear about them, let's go a little bit deeper. Here, I would love for you to share, if you feel comfortable with it, what has helped you the most or what has made it harder for you to find climate-related opportunities. So you can find about something like one thing that really helped you, maybe it was a person, maybe it was a message, maybe there was a language barrier that didn't let you really get into an opportunity, not knowing where to look. So whatever really stands out. Okay, English language, a daily research for chances. Lack of knowledge. Okay, not having an organization. We can see that this is a common theme that we also saw in the previous section that we were talking about, where and how apply for funding. Okay, help me is community climate service. Yeah, volunteering 100%. Yeah, going to climate conferences, really getting involved within the space. Climate change is my passion. Yeah, that's awesome. As Claude was mentioning, what we have is that, right? The passion. That's what we really can put. Okay, another hard thing was lack of information. Yeah, technical knowledge. Perfect. So first of all, thank you all for sharing this. It's great to see the different types of things that have helped you, but also what has made it harder. First of all, I want to tell you, like, you're not alone. If you ever felt like you had to get lucky to break in into the space. But also something very important to highlight, as we could see here from the volunteering on getting involved in conferences, is the small wins that we have. Just start by trying, by asking, or stumbling into something new. So for example, the fact that you joined this webinar, it's already telling on how much you're putting that passion and that energy that you have for what you're passionate about to really look into opportunities for yourself. So we can go to the next question. With this that we're thinking about of like, we start with the first small wins that we have, trying, deciding to send that email, connecting with someone, looking into learning something new, joining an event. What's one piece of advice or a strategy that you feel like you would share for reaching to organizations or applying to climate opportunities? And this could look a lot of different ways. So could be the way that maybe you write a message so it gets noticed. It could be maybe something that really gave you that power to say, okay, I'm going to send this email to this organization, even when you were very nervous about it. Or it could even be a reminder that you know that you belong in that room, that you belong in those spaces where maybe you feel like you're lacking knowledge, that you're not feeling so confident. Passion and waiting for your chances. Yeah, ready to be and hang on it. Perfect. Yeah, I agree. Know your solution better than anyone else. Yeah, that's a really good one. Okay, I see here. Reaching and inspiring people with the work you do, of course, to create localization projects. Join organizations. Yeah, go to conferences to develop critical skills. Full information. Yeah, have a CV with projects, community challenge. Yeah, I think these are so good. And I think the common thread that we can really see with all of this is honesty, right? Because in the end, if we stay true to ourselves, that will also show when we're looking for opportunities. So something that I think is very important and I want to highlight is that there's not right way to show up. The right way to show up is to show up as yourself and stay true to yourself and the things that you want to do and the passion that you have. Already, sending a message, tagging someone, showing up to a webinar, that's already one step forward. And again, it's very important to understand that you don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to keep following what feels authentic and real to you. So, usually the right step to finding that next opportunity has to do more with showing up for yourself and showing up as yourself. So again, for example, your opportunities, as we can see, sharing projects, prototypes, initiatives, all of this really has to do that the way that you want to contribute on climate doesn't have to look like everyone else's. We can see the variety of experiences that we have here, but this movement needs all of us. And if you ever doubt yourself in applying and going for it, remember, like organizations are usually not looking for perfect people. They're looking for passion, they're looking for authenticity, and also for new ideas. And that's all that I can see reflected here. So thank you so much for joining me for this section.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much, Mariana, for giving such an incredible overview of this really important topic. Now we're going to be moving into a quick moderation by Samra, who will be discussing how financial and institutional barriers can be impediments to getting involved in the climate movement. And she's going to be sharing a bit of her own experiences and creating some, hopefully facilitating some discussions amongst you guys so you can share your own stories and opinions and experiences.
Hello, everyone. I am Samra. I am the co-director of partnerships here at Climate Cardinals, and I've had significant experience in the financial world, from private equity to startups to Fortune 500 companies. And so I've definitely seen how access to opportunities shapes outcomes. So today we're going to be very briefly exploring what structural barriers prevent youth from being engaged and why it's important. So to confirm, you can see the screen, correct? Perfect. Okay. So one of the first barriers to engagement as a climate leader is, unfortunately, unpaid opportunities. A lot of people, especially in the global south or from low-income areas, can't afford to work for free. So essentially, it prices people out of the climate opportunities they would like to be a part of. Second is the cost of participation, from attending climate conferences to the registration fees. It can be really difficult for those without institutional support. So real quick, we're going to do a Mentimeter. And can you guys see the screen? Perfect. Okay. If you guys can answer, to what extent do you believe that elite institutions play a significant role in gatekeeping climate opportunities? Oh, sorry, this is something else. Wait. Oops. 1 second. Sorry about that. The results disappeared for a second, but I did see for a second there were a lot of exciting responses there. But my guess is that what I saw, that there was a lot of people that wrote strongly agree. So that's really exciting. Another impact is another big phenomenon that occurs is institutional gatekeeping. If you're a young student that has experienced like university systems or gone through the process of applying to colleges, you'll know that those with institutional knowledge often have a huge leg up over those who are coming in, say, first generation, or they're the first person in their family to try to attend college. And college is often the playground for young people to explore different climate opportunities and get to explore what they enjoy in the climate field. So unfortunately, like research and studies have found that if you're coming from like a top 1% family, you're actually like more than twice as more likely to actually get in, as opposed to most people from middle class families. So it's a structural barrier that reflects in the climate space as well. Oh, and then finally, of course, is funding disparities. So different climate initiatives, unfortunately, especially in the global south, struggle to secure funding. Here is a Teen Vogue article that was actually created by our executive director. That reflects how youth-led climate organizations need funding to succeed, and it shares statistics on how only 0.76%, unfortunately, of funding the climate space goes to youth-led organizations. So are you guys able to see the screen okay? Perfect. I will go to Mentimeter. Okay. Have you ever applied for an opportunity you felt that should be paid or accommodated and that decentivized you to apply? Wow, okay, amazing. Wow, so we're seeing 88% yes, 13% no. Yeah, it's still amazing to see that there's such a large majority that have experienced this structural barrier. So it seems that, you know, especially as people from the global south, my family being from Pakistan, for example, if there's any Pakistanis here, do give a shout out. How unfortunate these struggles, essentially there's a divide between those who have different types of capital and those who don't, unfortunately. So capital doesn't just mean, you know, financial capital. It can mean a number of things. It can mean social capital, it can mean cultural capital, intellectual capital, experiences, the ability to travel, the ability to apply for university, the ability to be at university without having to work multiple jobs. These are all that time, the opportunity cost for those that often have to choose between either being in an unpaid activism space or having a paid job. Obviously, these struggles can contribute to one's ability to really be involved. It's especially unfortunate when those who are experiencing the effects of climate change the most are often have the least amount of voice and a say to be able to get involved in the spaces where decisions are being made, especially communities that are victims of environmental injustice. To have youth from those communities often not be at the table, even in climate spaces, is really unfortunate. So what can we as youth leaders and professionals do? Here are a few things. So first is seek out paid opportunities for yourself and for others in every space you can, as well as accommodation. Advocate for financial support in your college spaces, in your career spaces for yourself and for others. I can definitely share this presentation as well, and learn about collective fundraising opportunities on small scale that allow communities to work as a collective and to have more bargaining power and a voice to support more funding opportunities. Passing support forward to the next generation, or especially those younger than us. Be a great mentor to younger individuals. Advocate within your organization. Be someone that tries to make sure that there's financial, legal, and social policies in place to support young people, especially those from lower to middle income backgrounds. And create paid opportunities. So if you are someone that is working on starting your own initiative or you are very entrepreneurial, please prioritize paying other people well for their contributions and share those opportunities you find and paid opportunities with your network as much as possible. Finally, because the struggles of wealth inequality, they're only rising in this country, and unfortunately we're in a very politically unstable time, it's very important to find agency in yourself as a climate leader. So it's important to get knowledgeable and educated on the opportunities that are available for young people out there. And it's also important to process your emotions around it. Unfortunately, issues like money can be very taboo in different societies. Often there is a pressure to assimilate into different specific languages and cultures, and there's a pressure to fit into a specific culture. For example, I know that being Pakistani American, Pakistan used to be, run by the British Empire, and so there was a lot of pressure over generations to assimilate into speaking English, and unfortunately, a lot of people have actually lost their ties to Urdu because of that. So it's very important to address the overwhelm, address the issues that come with that, and find agency in what you can control, and figure out how you can uphold your values, your beliefs, your culture. In fact, utilize your background and your experiences and your skills to address these, create these structural imbalances. So yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to listen today. And I appreciate Climate Cardinals and everyone at the UNDP for hosting such a great event and allowing us to connect with each other.
Yeah, thank you so much, Samra and Mariana, Roxani, Gunraagh, and all of the incredible people who contributed to making this event an success. Thank you so much for sharing your incredible experiences and stories. This is all so important to talk about. And although we didn't have enough time to get into our other moderated section, a lot of this does relate to our conversation on language barriers and geographic barriers, because so many roles in the climate space are only available in English or require English proficiency or require folks to travel to the global north. So definitely really important that we're having this conversation and shedding light on that. So whether you shared with us in Mentimeter or spoke aloud, thank you for naming the things that bring you joy, the skills you carry, the needs you care about, and the barriers you faced, because this is really the foundation of leadership. And the truth is that there is no single path, no right way to do this climate work. So some of you might find your climate calling in community organizing, some in climate tech, some in research, poetry, translation, or public policy. And we just want to reiterate that all of it matters, all of it is essential. So whether you connected to a new opportunity today, heard your own experience reflected in someone else's story, or simply realized that you are not alone in this work, you took a step forward towards finding your climate calling. So with that, let's keep building, let's keep going, and let's keep building a climate movement where everyone, everywhere can thrive. Thank you all so much, and have a wonderful rest of your day.